In this tips and tricks video, I'd like to show you how to combine solutions for seamless animations and other post-processing operations. This tip is useful whenever you have multiple data sets that you'd like to join together to create a single data set. And one scenario where you might want to do this is when, let's say you had two separate transient studies where one of those studies solves for field variables in a certain time range, and then you want to make a change to the boundary conditions, maybe add a layer of material at a certain temperature as well, and then compute a second study that picks up where the first study left off and continues to solve in time for a second time range. In that case, you would have two separate data sets to reference for post-processing, and that's not ideal. It'd be much more convenient, and it is much more convenient if you can combine those into a single data set that spans the entire time range from day 0 to day 2, rather than having two separate data sets, one that goes from day 0 to 1 and then one that goes from 1 to 2. Much more seamless for creating animations that show time progressing for the entire duration rather than just the two separate video files. So I'd like to show you how to accomplish this. So what we have here is the scenario I just described where heat transfer analysis, a simple 2D model that solves for the transient temperature distribution in the bottom layer of material here. Time starts at day 0 going up to day 1. We solve that study, and then we make some changes to the boundary conditions and materials. And then we solve a second study that picks up where the first study left off at day 1, solving in increments of every 1 hour up to day 2. And so in the end, what you have are two data sets. And so when it comes to post-processing, it's a little bit clunky because you have to reference these two different data sets. If you want to look at times between 0 and 1 day, you have to look at study 1. If you want to look at times between 1 day and 2 days, you have to look at study 2. And if you wanted to create an animation with the entire time range, you wouldn't be able to do it. So you would have to splice those together in a separate editing software for video preparation. But what we can do instead is add a third study that combines the two solutions. And I'll show you how to do that. If you right-click on the root node, we can select Add Study, and we'll add an empty study, and then close that Add Study window. And then I'll right-click on Study 3 and select Combine Solutions. And this will add a Combine Solutions feature, and then I can combine whatever solutions I want, either through a concatenation summation or some other options here. Concatenation is what we want, where it's going to take the first block of time and just butt it up against the second block of time. We'll need to set the first solution to study 1, and then the second solution to study 2, and simply compute study 3. And this doesn't solve for any field variable. It just takes the two data sets and concatenates them. You can see it only took 1 second to build that new data set. Now we have study 3, which is here. And now for all of our post-processing, we can switch the data set to study 3. And now you'll see I can pick any time between 0 and 2 days. And most helpfully, perhaps, you can now animate this and solve for the heating of the first layer all the way through to the adding of the second layer, and we can create this animation that does the whole time range rather than having to splice those together. So hope you found this tip helpful. Bye now.